everyone. It's good to be back. I hope you guys have had a good week. It's good to see you. It's good to be seen, is it not, Nate?
It sure is.
It sure is.
Love it.
It has been kind of a slow week in the news world this week in a lot of ways. I mean, some ways it hasn't been, but as far as I'm concerned, nothing really new has happened in the news. I always have this theory that the news is just on a continuous loop. It's a repeat. We have the politics that they always have. Oh man, I've had a good week though. I mean, it's not been a bad week. How about you, Nate? Good week?
It's been pretty busy, but it's
Busy?
not too bad.
Yeah, busy weeks aren't bad. I like busy weeks better than slow weeks sometimes.
It keeps you out of trouble.
And that's what we need to be, keeping out of trouble. I'll tell you what I'm getting tired about hearing. And I don't care what side of the fence you're on. It gets tiring to continue to, like, every day you turn the news on and you hear either somebody is for it or against it. And that's gun control. They're either for it or they're against it. And it's all over. It's all over Facebook. It's all over. And here's the thing. Nothing's going to change one way or the other on that right now. There's just not enough votes in the House or the Senate. But anywho, I get tired of seeing that. It always seems like, to me, it always seems like that's kind of the same thing all the time. Do you feel the same way, Nate, or is it just me?
It just keeps coming and coming and coming. And
Yeah.
Here, there, and everywhere.
Oh, man. You know what I wanted to do this week that I didn't get around to doing this week, Nate?
What's that?
I wanted to see that new Matt Damon movie, The Martian. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I'd
You'd like
really
to?
like to.
Okay,
It's
anybody
good.
that's seen it, don't ruin the ending for me. I don't want the ending ruined. I had that done with an M. Night Shyamalan movie, the first one he ever did, The Sixth Sense. I've never seen it. Somebody told me the ending, I was like, oh, I've never seen it. Oh, man. I should watch it sometime. But anyways, I like movies. I love movies. Do you like movies, Nate?
Movies are awesome.
They are. And have you noticed there's a rise, I'd say in the last 3 years, an uptick in movies and theaters that are faith-based? We had, it was 2 years ago, we had God's Not Dead come out. They did a big promo with that, Duck Dynasty. Anybody that's popular, that's a Christian, they had on TV proclaiming that God's not dead. That hit the theaters. And that was put out by a group called Pure Flick. I have not seen that yet, but a lot of people that I know that have seen it kind of tell me the same thing about it. And we'll get to that here in just a second. Knowing that this was a topic we were going to talk about this week, finally, this has been 2-3 weeks delayed.
Mm-hmm.
We finally are on Christian-based, faith-based movies. And so I put the question out there on Facebook. What do you think about faith-based movies? And I got 3 responses, and this doesn't surprise me. You know what, you go on Facebook and you say, hey, good morning everybody, hope you all have a good day. You get like 20 responses. You put a question out there, you get a handful. But I put this question out there, what do you think? And Dave had this to say. Dave said, I like the Rich Mullins documentary called Ragamuffin, but I dislike most like God's Not Dead and Facing the Giant. I liked Ragamuffin because it had a realistic feel to it. There are others, in my opinions, did not. To me, they personally felt like a cheesy Hallmark movie. Ramona said, I love all the movies by the guys that did Courageous and etc. Also, true stories such as End of the Spear, Beyond the Gates of Splendor, and The Hiding Place. And Becky said, Ramona said. So, obviously different opinions on a couple things, but the one thing I've heard from a lot of people about the God's Not Dead movie is it felt very cheesy, very simplistic, and the script was not that well written. And that movie was put out by a group, the main backers of that was a group called Pure Flick. Pure Flick, they're also coming out with God's Not Dead 2 in April, but they're kind of pumping out some more movies. And the thing about PureFlick is they go out and hire actual actors, and not maybe the best actors, but they hire actors nonetheless out of Hollywood, no matter whether they're Christian or non-Christian. And I had hoped to see God's Not Dead, but it feels to me, unlike the company that puts out the movies such as Courageous, I think they also put out Facing the Giants and Fireproof and War Room. The difference there is I don't feel that they're putting out the biblical message as well as they could be. When I get the feedback that they're just not well written. Have you seen God's Not Dead, Nate? Did you see that?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Did you feel there was a drastic difference between God's Not Dead and, say, War Room and you've seen most of those?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say with God's Not Dead, I mean, I felt it was a good movie, but it did seem just, I don't know, not as, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well written?
Yeah, not really well written and more, not as sincere, I would say.
No.
Like, yeah.
I felt like the message was kind of just everything's going to end up happy, hunky-dory at the end.
Yeah. There are a few twists that I didn't see coming, and I like movies like that. But, yeah, it just, like, it lacked the heart and the sincerity that some other faith-based movies would have.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I get a feeling from. I talked to several people about that have seen it, and they tell me the same thing. And I'm not really excited to see it. I own it. It's still in its silicone wrap, and I haven't gotten it out to watch it. And I feel that Hollywood's beginning to get the idea. I mean, they made $60 million plus on that movie, God's Not Dead. So that kind of woke up Hollywood, and they came out with some other movies. Noah, they tried to say it was faith-based, but had nothing to do with the Noah of the Bible in all reality. But PureFlick, and they have a streaming service where they put out movies, and it is mainly a lot of Hallmark movies. They do a lot of direct-to-DVD, and they're becoming bigger. We have Woodlawn coming out next weekend. And Woodlawn, I did some research on this because it's a true story. Anytime I see a true story or I watch a movie based off a true story, I like to go get all the facts. I like to see how true is it, how much of it they made up. Catch Me If You Can. Supposedly, even the guy that wrote the book, the autobiography of his own life, says, yeah, that movie's pretty close. That's what he says. It's what his story is. Some of the stuff is hard to prove in there. But Woodlawn is actually, a lot of it's taken off of a book written by Tony Nathan, who is one of the main characters and played for the Dolphins. It's taken out of his autobiography, and so it looks to be very close to actual events that happened. And PureFlix is not as involved in the production as they are the main distribution company that's putting it out there. I am excited about that. Kind of has a Rudy-esque feel to it, especially since Sean Austin's playing in it. So Hollywood's kind of picking up on this, but here's a group that came out 10 years ago maybe, with their first movie being Fly Real. They call themselves the Kendrick Brothers because they're brothers. And they came out with Fly Real, which was extremely well written. And here's the thing about the Kendrick brother and their company. They do their best to bring on people that are actually Christians. So the acting sometimes isn't up to par for some things, but let's really be honest about what's going on in Hollywood right now. I would say there's a handful of really good actors and actresses out there. There's not as many as we want to believe. I mean, even Tom Hanks isn't what he used to be in acting. And sometimes I feel like he just kind of mails it in. We have some really good actors. In fact, the sad thing about Hollywood right now is your best movies are based off of comic books. I mean, let's be honest. If that's what your best movies are right now, can we really complain that much about some of these faith-based movies? Nate watched it too. We went out, not together, but separately, watched War Room a couple weeks ago. And the acting was outstanding compared to the beginning of the Kendrick brothers. They put it out. Yes, they make a lot of money. Yes, but they have this drive to minister to people through movies. And this ministering to people through the movies, and this is why I like their stuff so much, is they try to make it look like real life. They don't, at the end of the movie, it's not, oh, everything turned out great, and look at how good things are for us now, but it has this realistic feel about it. The writing is just exceptional, and both the brothers that are involved in the production and distribution, they're both actually ordained ministers. They were full-time ministers at a church, and they put a lot of work and prayer into these things. And so as much as I think we need to, as Christians, we have a different standard when it comes to what we watch. And we have this different standard because we take what the Word of God says seriously. And even using our common sense, if we're going to fill our mind with a lot of filth, with a lot of ill language, then that's what's going to come out of our mouth. That's what we're going to be thinking about. But if we fill it with good, wholesome things, it feeds our soul, it feeds our spirit with goodness. And Christ was talking to his followers one day, and we read this here in Luke 11, 33 through 36. He says, "No one lights a lamp and then hides it and puts it under a basket. Instead, it is put on the lampstand to give light to all who enter the room. Your eye is a lamp for your body. A pure light lets sunshine into the soul. But an evil eye shuts out the light and plunges you into darkness. Make sure that the light you think you have is not really darkness. If you are filled with light, with no dark corners, then your whole life will be radiant." And as I think about this, I think about the movies, and we've got a slew of movies coming out in the next few months that are not what I would call faith-based completely, but based around biblical times. There's a movie that I'm really I cringe at, supposedly about the life of when Christ was a child, and the reason I cringe at that is there's not a lot written about that, and I'm not sure what they're going to do with it. I mean, let's be honest, from everything I've read, this isn't being put out by like PureFlick or by the Kendrick brothers, and we all know what Hollywood did to, well, we've got Noah, we've got a few other movies that came out that were supposedly based on the Bible, so I'm not completely excited about that. There's another movie that looks pretty decent. So there's movies coming out. We need to send a message to Hollywood that we will support these movies, and as long as the writing is good, I'm good with that. Acting, like I said, Hollywood acting right now is so below par of what it used to be. Let's not really get it too much on like, oh, the acting is just horrible. Well, if the writing's good, I'm more concerned about writing. I go out, I see a lot of movies. I'm a big movie buff. I watch movies that were made, in the 40s and the 50s. So I love movies. I think they can be a great source to ministry. I think we need to be careful. I think we need to try not to make them into a Hallmark special, kind of like what I'm hearing about God's Not Dead. But let's not dog it. Let's, use some common sense in what we're watching and what we're paying attention to out there. And that's what we're all about here at Let's Talk. I want us to draw closer to God. I want us to not only do that, but to hopefully give some common sense and reach out to people. But let's use common sense, because what we're watching what we're putting in our mind, it really affects how we do things, whether we realize it or not. So let's be careful about what we're putting in our mind, what we're allowing in our eyes and ears, and we're to look different to the world as Christians and as people that serve God. But enough of that. I think it's time for honorable mentions here. And honorable mentions here, we've got a few, and I'll try to put all the links to these articles down below. They're all on Facebook. The majority of these are also on my Facebook page, and I also put them in my Let's Talk Flipbook page as well. The first one, I read this article yesterday morning. It was about two 20-year-olds. They were a married couple, moved to LA, apparently had a job but didn't work out, became homeless. And they talked about this, and this article gave a great perspective on how we should view people in general. I think there's a stereotype when you think of a homeless person, you think of the guy that lives under the bridge and has bad clothes, and you think of somebody that's lazy, and these two are quite the opposite of what you may think of when you think of homeless people. It was a good read. I would suggest reading it. The other thing, I read another article called 10 Common Mistakes That Prevent You from Being Happy and Healthy, backed by science. And this was an incredible article. I don't want to get into it. I want you to read it and realize, it talks about how we need to be making healthy relationships. It talks about different things. It was a very interesting, intriguing article. Take a look at it. And then there was an article I read written by Jenny Simmons, who used to be the lead singer for Addison Road. For those of you who knew who Addison Road, they were kind of an indie Christian group. I enjoyed them. I enjoy indie music a lot. And so we have this article written by her. It's called Here's What I Learned When My Life Didn't Pan Out. And she talks about just the breakup of the group, how she had this master plan and it didn't go as planned. I think we all have that. We all have this master plan in the back of our heads. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And then it usually doesn't work out. And she wrote an article about it. And it was very intriguing, very good. I hope you guys are enjoying these. We got Let's Talk, Small Talk, and if you like it, if you're enjoying it, please, by all means, be sharing us on all your social media outlets, on Facebook, Twitter. Click the share button, share us with your friends so we can get out to a bigger, more broad audience. Hit the subscribe button, that way you'll, as soon as things are uploaded, you'll see it and you can watch the latest ones. Tell your friends about us. Let them know that we're here. This is what, the fourth show, I believe, 5th or 4th, and I think we're really coming into it. Like I said, by all means, share, share, share. And I think I'm gonna get on Twitter. I think we had this discussion before, Nate, about Twitter. You're not on Twitter, are you?
I have a Twitter account, but I don't remember the last time I ever posted anything, and I don't know.
I'm thinking about getting on there, starting to post things, so let me know what you think about that. Leave a comment if you like it. Let us know what we can do better. If you have a main talk kind of idea, you say, you know what, could you guys talk about this? Put it on there. You never know, we may talk about it. Hey, you guys have a good week. Remember, hit subscribe, share. We'll talk to you guys later. It's been good seeing you.